understand the concept of interlocking directorates, and it's going to be that difficult to find what the connection is. So maybe a couple of people on this board are also on the board of another corporation, which, the chancellor or whomever, these people who are in control are all working together and getting something out of the deal. So, there used to be this NISTL account. I don't know what it's called now. And, each school will get X amount of money to buy books. And then you'll have Pearson come in and maybe McGraw-Hill, if they still exist. This woman said, I say, who do you work for? She says, I don't know how to say that. Hockton Mifflin.
Hoffman LaRoche?
Hockland Mifflin. I could see the publishing company. It's another educational publishing company. I said, I didn't know they exist. Well, they don't really. Pearson bought them too. So it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so we're going to all... But then I understand that books that are sold in Texas are not necessarily the same as a New York State edition or a New Jersey edition of a book. Because they want them to have another thought. But again, under this whole idea of federalism, that every state has the right to educate its people however it chooses to do that. So people in Mississippi are not necessarily going to think the same as people in New Jersey. But then you have the Common Core, these standards that they would like everyone, and that's not the curriculum, it's just standards that they believe that all people should be able, or all children should be able to achieve. All children should be able to get up and say a speech in front of their friends or their classmates. All children should be able to look at two sides of an issue. All children should be able to debate, whether Columbus was a hero or a villain. All children should be able to look for information and find a way to research that. And I don't really see those as bad goals. And so when we say that people are going to fail because of a Common Core, we're saying that all children cannot think analytically. And I think that if you gave students who are not at the top an opportunity to think analytically, to really think about something, I think that they will excel and be more interested. But I don't know if every teacher can necessarily do that. Do you know what I mean by that when I say that? For example, to say that Columbus was a villain. So, I was schooled by the readings of Howard Zinn. And then when the people came in and started talking about the Common Core, this is what you can give your kids to Howard Zinn to read, his interpretation of Columbus. And colleagues of mine had never heard of Howard Zinn. They'd never heard any other interpretation other than the one that they'd already been told. I still hear teachers say, the war ended because, or the Depression ended because we went to war. So, the economy got better when we invaded Iraq. People, they keep using these same things, and then those teachers stand there and lecture with their students, and the students never question, and then they're just told to answer it. I've had many arguments with students. Miss, just tell me what to write, and I'll do it. And I says, well, what do you think? I don't know, tell me. Why are you asking me? Because you're supposed to think about it. It's the only way you can own the information if you actually have an opinion. I don't care if you love Columbus or don't. Just learn how to back up your opinion. That's what I was taught to do. And when you give that option to kids, then they get more involved in it. But if you just tell them stuff, Castro is a dictator. I asked them the other day, we were talking about monarchies, and I said, do you think a king is a dictator? And I said, name a dictator. I said, what kind of government's there? They said, it's a monarchies, democracy. None of them know that we live in a republic, and we live in a democracy, and there's a theocracy, and there's dictatorship. I said, well, where's there a dictator at? What's a dictatorship? It's in Cuba. It's in China. It's a dictatorship. I said, well, it doesn't say in the Chinese Constitution that we're a dictator. I said, name a dictator. And they'll say Hitler. And they'll say, how did Hitler get to power? Oh, he persuaded the people. But how did he get to power? He was voted in. Is that a dictatorship to you? You see, it's so when you keep telling kids this over and over and over, and then I said, well, was a king, an absolute monarch, a dictator? Then they have to, Oh, man, miss, why are you asking me that? That's it. What do you think? Well, what do you think? Nobody ever asked them the question the other way around. They see a castle. Surf on the land. And they say, we want you, Johnny, to come to the castle. Would you want to go? Yeah, I'd go. I said, do you know what's at the bottom of those castles? There's dungeons there where they torture you. Do you really want to go, Johnny? It's just this whole whack interpretation of their history and our history. So we're embarrassed that our ancestors not that long ago were enslaved. And their history, they believe that none of them ever had anything bad. You ever heard this guy CJ or CK White or whatever his name is? He says it's never been bad being a white person in history. If you listen to that, and people believe that. They believe that. But you've got 90% of the people who are peasants, who are under a system of feudalism, which is the equivalent of slavery. Everywhere you read, you will see that. If you read about it, you got to ask, can you leave? You can't leave. You're bound to the land. You're in debt. That's slavery. But no, it's only us. And so they have you and I believing that something that happened to us is new and only happened to us, but it's happened to everybody. So people need to read. I just believe the history and the study of it, and politics will save all of us. It will save us all.
So what can we learn from how Nigeria contained Ebola?
Can we learn? Did you believe that Nigeria has contained Ebola?
Well, there's this article.
With all these zillions of Nigerians flying all over the place.
Well, here's the answer. Not that much. Nigeria and Senegal. But listen to this. This is unbelievable. This is an article dated October the 15th, right? This was before.
Where are you finding this article? Let me read along.
This is in slate.com. What can we learn from how Nigeria contained Ebola? Not that much. Nigeria and Senegal could be declared Ebola-free by the World Health Organization in a few days. This was before they were declared Ebola-free. After clearing the requisite 42-day period with no cases, in all, 20 people were infected in Nigeria with 8 fatalities. Only one person in Senegal became infected, but that victim has recovered. The news is course. Africa's largest society and a major international commercial center was one of the most terrifying scenarios we have to contemplate over the past few weeks. The success these countries had in containing the outbreak is going to prompt some discussions on what lessons can be learned from other places fighting Ebola. The Financial Times, this is the Financial Times now, attributes Nigeria's achievement to a rare national effort that saw the Lagos state government, federal institution, the private sector, and global non-governmental organizations all pulling in the same direction to defeat the disease. That national effort included a presidential decree that gave officials access to phone records and a strict system to monitor potential cases, one that involved tracking down more than 800 people who may have had contact with the infected. But arguably, Nigeria didn't actually do a very impressive job. A single Liberian man who traveled to Nigeria in July infected 11 hospital staff in the time between his admission to a hospital and when his tests were received. There might have been more infection if not for a doctor strike that reduced the number of people who came into contact with him. One doctor told the New York Times, at the time, nobody was prepared for it. The advantage Nigeria had was that the outbreak began with this one man who was immediately taken from the airport to a clinic at a time when Ebola was already a crisis. By contrast, international agencies and authorities in 3 countries at the epicenter of the outbreak, Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, didn't wake up to the severity of the disease until dozens were already affected. Rather than demonstrating the effectiveness of any particular method of Ebola control, the case of Nigeria and the less severe case of Senegal confirm what we have known about the disease from the beginning. Despite its high mortality rate, Ebola is relatively difficult to transmit from person to person. And under normal circumstances, it is relatively easy to contain with common sense public health measures. Isolating those infected, limiting the exposure of healthcare workers, and tracking down those who may have come in contact with them for a variety of reasons. This was not done in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea until it was too late. So they're telling you, very simple. Track down all the individuals they have come into contact with and try to limit the amount of people that the person come in contact with.
You know, when I have some time, I'm going to find out what other countries have done about this whole...
Despite early lapses, Nigeria, a country that's not known for reliable public institution or healthcare infrastructure, was able to get the outbreak under control. And despite the early lapses in Dallas, the U.S. should be able to do the same. Of course, that's not much comfort if you live in one of the countries where it's already out of control. So, they're telling you it's pretty easy. It's not that difficult.
Why are we hearing all this ruckus?
Well, you weren't here, but I read the story about the Republican that got up in Congress and said, we need to close our borders. We need to stop all African flights, all flights coming from West Africa into United States of America. We need to quarantine them. Don't let no flights come from West Africa. That's one of the ways we're going to stop Ebola coming into this country. And the Republican was fighting. He was up there. It's like, Congressman, excuse me, sir. There is no direct flights coming from West Africa to the United States of America.
I was here when we talked about that.
Oh, you were here?
Yes.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure about that? No. I'm just talking to the guy was asking the congressman. Are you sure? He says, of course I'm sure. He said, Congressman, there's no direct flights coming from West Africa. Do you see the type of things that they do that just doesn't make any sense? The guy didn't even have the common courtesy to do a little research. But you know what? That's why he's up there. I'm sure he's a rich congressman anyway.
All congressmen are.
All congressmen
there might be a couple that aren't. But that's easy, yeah.
But why is only the rich guy go up? What?
What kind of question is that, Anselm? You won't even run for township committee where you're not going to get paid. Only the rich can afford to run, Anselm. They can afford that, not unless you're in local politics.
So
same reason you wouldn't. See, and the goal is, and why do you want to stay? So you can make money, so you can get the connections. That's why people.
So they use the money to run, so they can make more money.
Yeah. I mean, what else is it? I mean, maybe some are actually there to serve the public good. I mean, you have different types. You have people who are actually reflecting the people that they represent, their constituents. And then you have the other people who are reflecting those who are giving them the money to vote on certain things. But it's a time check now.
So we are doomed, right?
No, I don't think so, because most people don't think about politics all day. Is that the quote of the day? I'd like to read that today. I hope it's good.
Hold up. I don't want you to pass your germs over here.
I'm not gonna. The germs are already in the room. I have Ebola. Get ready.
Hold up. Let me send this to you. Hold up.
Don't. Oh my God.
Hold up.
What do you call these things?
What's that?
This thing I'm wearing.
Hold up. Select all.
Are you gonna quote Gandhi? Is this a Gandhi quote?
No, we're still on the air, you know.
I know we're still on the air.
You know, sometimes I gotta tell.
Funny. What's wrong? If you're gonna have a Gandhi quote, what's wrong?
No, it's not a Gandhi quote.
Okay. You want me to find some revolutionary to quote, or
we are still here in the village of Handsome and Margie on the South Orange Maple Online Radio Experience. We are getting you the so more quote of the day.
Yes, and while he's looking for the so more quote, I'm going to give you a time check.
Well, time check. The time is approximately 9:29 p.m. We're going to go for a short break, and when we come back, we're going to